You mentioned in the build-up to the show that there's some stuff happening with Mayan temples and this data. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. So this is an interesting application of what I do. So across parts of Central America, there used to be the Mayan civilization, especially concentrated in Mexico, Belize, Guatemala. And many of the temples and pyramids and dwelling places that they used to inhabit have been left behind and now covered in tropical forest. And many of those cities have been discovered, but actually there is still many left in the forest that is still covered with tropical forest that we don't know exist. And they're still being discovered at quite a high rate every year.
So I went to Machu Picchu, and I can completely understand how this happens. So it was Machu Picchu, for anyone who hasn't been there, I'm not sure if you have.
No, I haven't.
So you sort of get there and you drive across like a very, very dangerous road, or you can pay like 400 quid to take a train. Take a train, it's much safer. We almost died when we did it. Like it's sheer cliffs, like, you know, rivers and so on. And then you walk for like many, many hours, and then you get to the base of a very, very steep mountain. And it's something like 1.2 kilometers, and it's all staircases. And so you can imagine before the staircase and the road, you can pay a minibus, but again, we were stingy.
Yes.
1.2 kilometers of vertical cliffs. And then on the top, there's sort of a plateau. And on that is Machu Picchu.
Yes.
You can fully understand how you would just never go there.
Yeah, completely. And in one of these instances, somebody flew a drone equipped with something called LiDAR, which isn't something that I work with, but it can map 3D structures underneath the canopy cover of a tropical forest.
So it's like radar, right? Radar, you send out radio waves, you time how long they take to get back, you get a distance.
It's exactly like that. It just shoots out electrons and you time how long they take to come back to map the structures below. And they flew this over quite a relatively small area of Guatemalan forest. And they discovered over 1,000 buildings, a 7-story pyramid and a hilltop fortress that archaeologists who've been working in the area for decades had never found. And from this, they realized actually how much was lying underneath the forest. The archaeologists just hadn't come across yet.
Right.
So one application of my research is that the trees and the plants that grow on these temples and on these pyramids, obviously they're on quite a different substrate compared to if they were growing in the surrounding forest. They're not really growing in soil, they're kind of growing in rock, in which case we'd expect their leaves to be a lot drier, and you'd expect them not to have access to the same nutrients as if you were growing in soil. So you'd expect their leaves...
It's like a patio.
Exactly, yeah. Trees growing on rocks are quite different species as well. So you'd expect not only their species to be different, but for them to have much lower nutrient concentrations in their leaves and to have much drier leaves. So if you had a system, for example, like a drone, which could map an area of forest.
Hypothetically. If you were working on a PhD,
which looked at precisely these leaf traits, then you could map an area of forest and you could maybe find hotspots where the leaf traits were different to the surrounding forest. And maybe,
is this your secret plan to get rich after your DPhil? To go map loads of old temples and discover a giant pot of gold?
Yeah, basically become a 21st century Indiana Jones. Then you could discover these hotspots, which may suggest a Mayan pyramid underneath. And of course, it may not be practical to do it with a drone, but with satellites, you could cover vast areas of forest which are quite impenetrable to humans a lot of the time.